I'm James Carney, and welcome to In Between Two Stop Signs, Fishkill's only podcast where we sit down with local leaders, small business owners, community organizations, and hometown heroes to shine a spotlight on the people shaping our town. Before we jump in, here's a little about me. While I may not be a Fishkill native myself, I was born and raised in New York City. I proudly made Fishkill my home. I studied business and communications and media, and I currently own and operate a small business right here in Fishkill. I'm also a former member of the Rombout Fire Department and currently volunteer as a driver for the City of Beacon Ambulance Corps. And while I am not originally from Fishkill, my fiance is, born and raised right here in town. So Fishkill is not just where I live, it's part of my family's roots and our future. For our first episode, I'm honored to welcome someone whose decisions directly impact the daily lives of Fishkill residents, Town Supervisor Ozzy Albra. Supervisor Albra has been serving the town of Fishkill with the mission of transparency, accountability, and accessibility, whether it's managing development, addressing public safety, or representing the concerns of residents. His role is central to how our town grows and operates. Today we'll be discussing a range of topics, from clarifying the differences between the town and village of Fishkill to current and past challenges, community concerns, infrastructure, and what's next for our town. Supervisor Albra, thank you for taking the time to sit down with Inside Scoop Fishkill and be part of the conversation. Let's jump in.
Welcome to the town hall, and I'm ready to begin.
Thank you. Appreciate you having us today. So before I jump in, I'd just like for you to please give a brief example and detail of the difference between the town and the village of Fishkill.
Yes, so the town of Fishkill was formed in 1788, and the village of Fishkill was formed in 1899. So the village of Fishkill is a separate municipality by law. The town of Fishkill does do its plowing and highway work, doing snow removal. But the village of Fishkill is its own separate entity. They have a village mayor, 4 trustees as their governing board, and I believe 2 judges that handle the court system.
Wonderful. Now, what are your main responsibilities for town supervisor?
I run the day-to-day operations, and then I enforce the town board resolutions that the town board votes on.
Wonderful. Now, what's one part of the town operations that residents often overlook or is misunderstood?
Misunderstood? I think the biggest thing in the town is there's quite a few residents in Fishkill due to the post office boundaries. They don't even think they live in the town of Fishkill. So we have that issue in Glenham, where we have a Beacon mailing address, and that's where I live. And we have that on the Route 9D corridor, where we have a large portion of residents, all the residents there, that either have a Beacon or a Wappinger Falls mailing address. So that's one of the things that causes confusion in the town of Fishkill, that residents that live here don't know that they live here.
Gotcha. All right, so we're going to start off with some of the questions that have been submitted by town folks online. So we're going to start off with the infrastructure for the current and future state of Fishkill.
Okay.
So the first topic that was brought up was the Continental Commons. People would like an update about that and the controversy regarding the lawsuits aimed at the development, along with the supposed burial and or war site that is there, and also the current status of what is happening as well.
All right, so ask the first question and we'll work our way down.
All right. So the first question is, the project faced a lot of opposition from preservative groups concerned about potential impacts on the historic site. It also faced lawsuits aiming to block the development.
Yes. So the town of Fishkill in December, the town of Fishkill usually has 2 meetings. The town of Fishkill has 2 meetings, usually the first Wednesday and third Wednesdays of the month. In December of 2019, before I took office, there was a town board meeting involving Continental Commons to get their final approval on water and sewer. The developer and the developer's attorney asked that meeting, which was on the first Wednesday of the month, be tabled to the second meeting of the month, based on their advice. At that second meeting in December, the town board did not have a quorum. So since there wasn't a quorum, the town supervisor at the time, with only 2 members of the board, decided to move the public hearing to December 30th of that year. You can't do that unless you have a full quorum. As a private citizen, paying for it out of my own pocket, I filed a TOR at Dutchess County Court to stop that illegal meeting from happening, which I paid out of my own pocket. The judge agreed with me, and that stopped. The next month, the developer from Continental Commons sued me for stopping this project. The project, later I recused myself and the vote was taken, and the town board at the time denied them the water extensions because of unknown situations of the pipes and the water and sewer lines. The judge overturned that decision and said you have to put them in the sewer and water district. So that was taken care of, and we're moving forward. And just recently, working with the town attorney, there is a sewer pipe in that area that we don't know who owns, but that's after the fact. What's the next questions?
There was some concern that there was a war site or a burial on the property.
Yes. So at last week's town board meeting, I made a presentation regarding the 1897 placement of a Daughters of American War Revolutionary marker at the intersection of Route 9 and Van Wyck Lake Road. And I urge you to review our town board meeting. I start speaking around 40 minutes during that meeting, and I do a slide presentation. And I thank the developer. The developer, I went on his social media page, and I found several examples of him taking credit for saving the Revolutionary War burial ground. He posted on his Facebook page that he's preserving a Revolutionary War burial ground. He's held multiple wreaths across America ceremonies, and wreaths across America are usually placed on soldiers' graves. And he placed a monument on the site indicating that there was a burial ground near that site.
Okay. Let's move on to the redevelopment of the Downstate Correctional Facility.
Mm-hmm.
The Downstate Correctional Facility closed in 2022. A proposal aims to transform the site into a mixed-use development with up to 1,300 housing units, including affordable housing. A lot of residents have discussed their concern with the lack of infrastructure with the area, providing lack of roadways and traffic buildup coming from the interstate or going through to go through Beacon. A lot of residents have also discussed concern with increase in response for emergency responders, and also how that is going to impact the overall lifestyle of Fishkill, adding that many extra families to the town. Would you be able to share the progress on the redevelopment for that site?
Yes, absolutely. And the residents of Fishkill are totally correct with their concerns. Prior to this being brought to the attention of the town of Fishkill, the town, myself, created a position paper. We took our position paper. We asked the residents to opine, to give us their opinions. And then I brought it to the attention of the town board. The town board voted to pass a resolution to make that our official position paper. We also asked the Slater Chemical Fire Department to do a position paper and the Beacon City School District to do a position paper since it impacts them. And we all did that, and we were ahead of the curve, shall I say, into protecting the residents of the town of Fishkill. So the town let it be known what our concerns were and what we'd like to see in return if something like this went through. The town of Fishkill also is aware that we have to protect the residents. We've hired three special attorneys. We have one attorney that's doing the negotiations. We have one attorney doing the fire and the fire issues, the emergency service issues. And we have one attorney that could prepare if we have to go through litigation. That attorney would be prepared to file litigation in Albany if we have to protect the residents of Fishkill. So we are on top of this. We are prepared. And we want to work in good faith with the governor and the state to put something there that's amicable to everybody, because if we kill this, it's going to be an empty prison, and then people are going to be complaining about an empty prison. So we have to find a balance of how we deal with downstate. So in our position paper, we had three major concerns. The school district, would be the number one concern. And with the school district, the goal is not to create the need to build another school because the residents of Fishkill would have to pay for the school. So the developer came back and basically in a year, all they've done in a year is say that the Beacon City School District is down in the last 10 years about 800 in enrollment. So the school district does not appear to be an issue. And quite frankly, we have to do something with the school district because if the school district doesn't have as many kids, the state's going to give less aid and then the residents are going to have to pay higher taxes to make up that difference. I know it doesn't make any sense that you have to pay more for less kids, but then the state would give us less aid. So it's a tangible thing that we have to try to work out. And then we have to figure out the bus routes if the project goes through. Who pays for the buses and what schools are they? What elementary schools they're going to go to? Because Glenham is basically maxed out. The other schools have some capacity. The second issue, which I have not been satisfied with, is fire protection. Currently, there is no fire district on the downstate property. The Glenham Slater Chemical Fire Department covers the area, surrounds the area, basically. And in the past, they subcontracted to Slater Chemical per year for additional fire coverage, but that contract has expired. So they came in here about a month ago, and in a year's period, they have not come with a plan to figure out how fire coverage would be protected on this site. And as a supervisor, when I look at plans for developments coming into the town, one of the first things a developer wants to do is to figure out what can they maximum build, but what is the maximum build with fire apparatus being able to drive around the neighborhood. We share that concern to the developer a year ago. A year has passed, and the developer has done very little, let me just be honest with you, done nothing to alleviate our concerns about fire coverage or any other public safety issues. In theory, the fire department does not have to take that downstate property into their district. There was talk about maybe the city of Beacon subcontracting, but I doubt that would happen because they would have to put some type of substation in that property and man it. So, like I said, usually when a developer comes in, this is one of the first things they want to take care of. We have a nice development coming up on Willow Lake Road, and that developer is hounding me to have an appointment with the Roundabout Fire District so they can make sure that the fire trucks and that they're satisfied that they can move on with the site plan. Here, there has been none urgency for that developer to protect that area with fire coverage. It's been non-existent, basically. We haven't seen anything.
Gotcha.
So that's number two. Then number three, it's the governor's initiative. And when I say this and when you hear me, the governor wants walking communities. The difficulty here is there are no sidewalks. So for this project to go through with support of the town board is that it's going to have to provide sidewalks to where the Route 9D area is by the overpass or the Beacon Newburgh Bridge, where there are sidewalks that would take you to the train station or in the city of Beacon. Sidewalks are very expensive. Beacon is doing sidewalks from 9D by Walcott Avenue by Washington's Head to the Fishkill town line, and that's going to be at least a $12 million project. So the developer has been made aware that I'm not going to support anything unless they support the governor's initiative to have sidewalks. I hope everybody's following what I'm saying. Okay? So that's probably going to cost $15 million to run sidewalks there. So the developer, he's made the one accommodation with the school district, acceptable. But number two, fire coverage, public safety, and I haven't seen anything. And I did not see the concern about initiating the governor's sidewalks initiative, walking community initiative, for over a year. I don't see any interest in number two or number three. So until those three things are taken care of, nothing will become, I will not accept anything to come to in front of the town board. So you're talking, at the rate they're going, could be several more years before we even get to that point. I'd like to remind you that when they first proposed this last year, they were saying they were going to put up 450 units immediately. That has not happened. Because we know our zoning laws, we know our rights, and we're going to protect the citizens of Fishkill, and we're not going to let anybody just come in here and do what they want and leave us with the aftermath. Because that's what the developers have done in the town of Fishkill for the last 50 years. They come here, get their variances, get their zoning approvals, and say one thing and end up leaving, and then you and me as taxpayers end up cleaning the mess, costing us money. That doesn't happen here in the town of Fishkill anymore. So once those initiatives are taken care of, and I want to go backwards because of the people concerned about the number of units. Initially, they only wanted 1325. They're down to a little less than 1,100. It's really not the number of units, it's the type of units. For example, 500 three-bedroom homes is worse than 2,000 single-family homes because they have more impact with the schools, classrooms, etc. So we're trying to get some over 55 single-family residents in there for young kids. As a father of 4 kids, I have a daughter that just graduated college. She's in the workforce. She can't afford to leave home. I got a second one in the pipeline, a third one in the pipeline. The area has become unaffordable. And even what gets me is because I live right around the block from downstate, so this impacts me directly. So I have a vested interest to see what's going on there. The misnomer of affordable housing is a joke. Let's just say a 2-bedroom apartment goes for $2,400. Their idea of affordable is $2,000. $2,000 is not even affordable. So it's just a reason to help the developers make more money. That's how I see it. And what gets me is, how can New York State be down 800,000 people in population, but have the need to create 800,000 more units? It doesn't square. But that's a state issue, not a town issue. But I think I'd like to share that with the residents of Fishkill, that your town supervisor, your town board is prepared. Like I mentioned earlier, we have 3 crack attorneys specifically working on this. We've had citizen participation from the get-go. We prepared for this before they even brought anything to the town. We've done our due diligence, and as a supervisor, before I became supervisor, I've seen how developers operate, and I kind of know their MO, and we're prepared to deal with this. We go backwards where you talked about litigation. There was 2, this Continental Commons is suing, and I'm not concerned about that. And there was another one with the Rolling Hills project where we stopped the project. We're going to put almost 500 homes on the Route 9D corridor near the Beacon-Newburgh Bridge, and that's ongoing too. But why the town was run by the developers for the last 50, 60 years was because the developers threatened to sue if they didn't get what they want. Do you understand? So when you see some community members mention, oh, there's a lawsuit here, that just gave them a reason to give the developers what they want. Hey, we don't want to get sued, so here, do what you want to do. Create your own water district, create your own sewer district. Over the years, the town ends up taking these things over and costing the taxpayers more money. Those 2 projects were active before I became supervisor. They were already in the pipeline. Since I became supervisor, every single developer that's come into this town board, this is where I speak to them, not one of them has even threatened to sue the town of Fishkill. They understand what the deal is. You come here with a good project, we're going to support you. But if you're coming here and asking for things that does not benefit the citizens of Fishkill, you will get no consideration. And that's how it's been. Been 0 litigation with developers since I've been town supervisor. It's only the old stuff, which I'm trying to correct.
Yep, and you can find
It's
that through your
huge.
facts as well. Yes.
Well, what's important about this is people are complaining about development.
Yep.
And then the same people that complain about development are complaining about litigation. But if you don't litigate, then what are you complaining about?
Yes.
So I don't like hypocrites, and that's what happens. So if you don't fight the developers, they're going to keep doing what they want to do.
Yep,
Developer-
people could see that since you've been on, that there has been no active lawsuits regarding developments compared to the past supervisors.
Yes, and the issue is you have things done differently, and like I mentioned, we mentioned the Continental Commons thing. That was December of 2019. I wasn't even in office yet. They were so pro-developer that my predecessors would hold an illegal public hearing to benefit a developer. Do you understand what I'm trying to tell you? That doesn't happen anymore. So the dynamic of the developers running the town of Fishkill is gone. Period. And what is that worth to a resident of the town of Fishkill? What is it worth taking the hits from these developers that just say put misinformation in their paperwork? Okay. Going forward, these developers, they're very savvy. And another thing that they were saying was, oh, Ozzy, you're being too tough on developers. Not the case. When you tell a developer, he comes in, you know what they say to me? Thank you for telling me the truth. I don't have to waste my time in a zoning board meeting to try to get something that ought to be disapproved later. They're appreciative of what they can do. It saves them money, it saves the town time, and it's an honest operation, knowing what you can do and what you can't do. Instead of leaving somebody alone, then expecting maybe some auxiliary benefit. You know what I'm trying to say? This is how this town was operated. That does not happen anymore. The residents of the town of Fishkill have total control from the developers now. And it's been like that for the last 6 years. And what is that worth to you? To me, that's worth a lot.
Yes.
It's a big seismic change. And the second part that I was going to mention was, developers are not going to come here. As long as the economy, depending on the economy, we either have between 200 million and 400 million of stuff coming into the pipeline.
That's a good.
Developers are coming to the town of Fishkill. When I do my state of the town later this month, the financial strength of the town of Fishkill, our infrastructure is excellent. You're talking the next 10, 15 years, the town's major concerns are going to be increased salaries for employees, vehicles for highway and the police, and basically maintenance. There's no major buildings that are going to have to be built, major infrastructure problems. In the last 6 years, we've taken care of everything. So I'll let you know that we're in a very good position. And controlling the town can work. And that's exactly what's happening.
And that's just another one of the concerns as well, is a lot of Fishkill residents don't realize it, but many people who travel through the area, Fishkill has over 1,000 hotel rooms in its area. So that alone adds to the infrastructure with traffic, first responder, emergency calls, all that. So it's glad that you're understanding and going correlating one-on-one with the developers, first responders, the town and state, because having sidewalks, most people, it's not a necessity, but it's safe. You're walking your dog or your kids.
Yeah, so let's just circle back down to downstate because I left a big part out. The developer of that project is going to have to comply with state law, even though the governor has the power to do what she wants within that property because it's state property. They still have to abide by state fire department law. Okay? That's going to be a heavy burden for them to figure that out. Then second is the governor's initiative to have walking communities. So those costs have to be figured out by them. Those are benefits for the developer. Now we go to what is the benefit for the residents of the town of Fishkill. So in our position paper, we have three basic ones. Give the residents a priority of getting these apartments. And number two, the area around there's not many homes and they draw water from wells. And when there's a dry season, these wells go dry. So my proposal as a give back would be getting the people that live in that area water, municipal water, running municipal water lines. And then as a town-wide benefit, I would like to connect the Dutchess Park Sewer District, which is the eastern part of town, to the Roundabout Sewer District, which is the western part of town, which we own. So the Dutchess Park Sewer District sends its affluent to the city of Beacon, and the city of Beacon makes a nice profit off of us. So that sewer line runs down the Fishkill Creek to Beacon. It crosses over Red Schoolhouse Road. If we can get a pipe from the creek to Red Schoolhouse Road, we would be in business. Then we could connect our sewer district into one sewer district, saving the taxpayers money because we'd have more tenants on our sewer district because it's only around 50% capacity, and we can expand if we wanted to. And then we could have our own one sewer district, and it'd be a town-wide benefit. So I'm looking for a benefit for the residents that live in that area, and then I'm looking for a town-wide benefit that I can say to the citizens of Fishkill, we just didn't get steamrolled. We got all our conditions met, and they're going to do this, this, and this. And until I'm happy with that, the town is not going to support any project. It's just the way it's going to be.
And that's just another example of how when a developer comes to the town, you're trying to go above their expectations by helping out not just them, but other residents and areas of the town itself from their development.
I couldn't have said it better. And believe it or not, I'm dying to issue a zoning variance to help a developer if there's a benefit. For example, we've had major infrastructure. When I first took office, we had 2 health department violations for 2 water districts, the Merritt Water District, and that was pretty much a fix where we upgraded some some pumps and some mixers, and we blend with some village water to make this. It's salt from the Salt Road. That's what the problem is. It's too much. The limit is for the state is at 250 milligrams per, and we're around the 260, 270 mark for years. So with that district, we added some bigger pumps, and we buy water from the village of Fishkill, and we blend it and get those rates down. That's only the one. So bad development, when they built Toll Brothers back in the early 2000s, they placed a well field at the intersection of Route 9 and 84. Wintertime, you got the trucks on 84, on 9, that's a lot of salt. And the salt goes into the aquifer. And it doesn't kill you, but if you have heart problems, it could cause an issue. So that was issue number 1. And then the second health department issue was the Bickerhoff Water District, which is mainly the northern part of town by the Chief Nimham statue in that area. And they didn't have secondary capacity, they didn't have storage, and they were also increasing salt levels that were above over 250. My predecessor left me with a plan to remediate that problem, which would have been about $5.6 million in taxpayer dollars. I reviewed the plan, it was not acceptable. We chopped it down significantly to about 1.1 million. And what we're going to do is everything is connected except it would be in front of the deli by Doug Phillips Park is where the last part is, and in there we're waiting for a control panel. So what will happen is if the Bickerhoff Water District or the other water district loses water, we could press a button and a valve will open and water will come one way to the other so those residents won't lose water. And I used President Biden's national money that he gave out to towns over the years. So I'm parlaying that into no cost to taxpayers for this $5.6 million. So the Bickerhoff Water District is unique. It was built in this development's at least 1,300 homes, the Bickerhoff Water District in Dutchess Park. So this development began where the developer had its own water and sewer operation. And then over the years, they walked away in the town and take care of it. Christmas a couple of years ago, there was a water main break that goes underneath 82 by Bickerhoff Elementary School. They put the pipes right on top of each other. We don't know what pipe services the western part of 82 and the eastern part of 82. So being proactive, we spent about $125,000 and built some valves in back of the Bickerhoff Elementary School to where if something happened, we would be able to supply 90% of that water district with water. Depending on which pipe breaks, if one pipe breaks, everybody might still have water, but if another one breaks, the eastern part where Elmcrest is and that apartment complex, they're going to lose water until we figure it out. So a developer did approach me a couple weeks ago about building where the deli is. And I was like, hey, listen, if you're going to need a zoning change, I need something from you. And we discussed what I need for that area. And we've already paid for the plans. They've already been done. From the new firehouse to the deli, there's a fire hydrant. If we can get that run, it's about $450,000. It'll create a loop system for the Dutchess Park Water District. So if one of those pipes broke, it wouldn't matter because we could run water the other way and supply that district with water. So that's going to be like my last major infrastructure issue in the town to get that part done. But there would be a benefit for the residents of Fishkill to do a favor for a developer, but the residents are going to get a tangible benefit that benefits them. So do you understand where I'm going with that? Mm-hmm. So that's where I'm at. And if he doesn't want to help me with that, I'm not going to be willing to help him with his concerns. That's how that works.
That's good. That's good that you're not just trying to give, you're trying to take as well from what's going on with all the money being spent.
Absolutely. And the issues with the water are important because now we have a great highway superintendent. Working with him and working in conjunction with New York State, we received an in-kind grant for a water project called DWSB2. So the state runs it. They advise us of what to do. And we made so many changes we used to pile street sweepings at Doug Phillips Park next to the well field. Let's think about that. We removed that. All that salt and everything piled up and the rain goes into the aquifer and that's gone. The rates have went down. We now use different type of substance on the streets when it snows. The rates are going down. So both those sewer districts are below the 250 now. If we weren't able to do that by having our highway department do a better job of what they're doing, the end game with the health department would be to build a reverse osmosis system plant to take the salt out of the water, which could cost up to $15 million to be paid for by taxpayers. So the investments that we made in our highway department are paying off significantly, saving the residents in the long term. I think your infrastructure in the town of Fishkill, just on the water portion, the residents should be proud of, because we're saving you a lot of money on that.
Yes, that's good, and it's always good to have clean, drinkable water.
Yes, and you can drink your water in the town of Fishkill.
Yes. Now, while we're speaking of that area, a lot of residents have discussed their concern with the abandoned storage facility.
Happy to talk about it.
It's been an abandoned facility for the point of concern for residents for the past 5+ years.
Yes.
And people would like to know the plan for the property redevelopment or cleanup. I did drive around it recently and did notice that it looked like someone had scraped a bunch of the copper from the machines in them. People want to know if the enforcement on the property maintenance codes and if there's been engagement with the property owners.
Absolutely. So I'm glad you asked that question. And yes, we have a property maintenance law. Okay. Since I've been supervisor, I've done 6 of them, including this property. The first 4, 2 people have complied, and I believe we knocked down 2 buildings, 2 homes to comply. So what's on the table now is this project, and there was a house that caught on fire on Van Wyck Lake Road that we knocked down, but they have like 7 or 8 cars in the parking lot that are just sitting there abandoned. I'm working on getting rid of those, and we're on this this self-storage facility at 82 and 52. So we have them on the agenda. They've been on the agenda since May, June. They're back on the agenda for July. We opened up the public hearing, so they have an opportunity to say what they're doing. Right now, they're working on a performance bond. So this property, when I first took over, was an issue, and they left. And I wondered why it wasn't being cleaned up back then. And it wasn't being cleaned up because there was no performance bond law at the time. So what I did, along with the town board, is we created a need for a performance bond. So when a developer comes into the town of Fishkill, they have to post a performance bond. So if they walk away in the future, the town has this money to clean up the site. Pretty good. And this developer, what's holding him back is that he's put in for his performance bond, but the performance bond is out of Florida, and there's some issues of how it's written. Once that's taken care of, he'll be able to go to the building inspector, get his building permit, and develop. So only thing that's stopping this project from going forward is this developer not complying with our performance bond statutes. Now, I am not going to take it off the agenda until I actually see a building permit applied for. And if I'm not satisfied, we will put it out for bid, have somebody clean it up, and then we bill the property owner in their tax bills to pay for it. So that's the path that we're going on. We're on the path where we're pushing the developer to do something. If they don't do anything, we're gonna do what we gotta do, get the site cleaned up, and bill the work to the property owner. So that's been before the town board the last 2 months. It's gonna be on the July agenda also. So until that's done, I'm gonna keep it on the agenda. When I sense that if it's either going forward, I'll withdraw from the agenda. If I feel that's not going forward, we'll move to remediate the property by putting it out to bid to get it cleaned up. So the town of Fishkill is on top of it.
That's good.
Mm-hmm.
And now going from that property to the Dutchess Mall property.
Yes.
And I also wanted to thank Janine M. and Amanda W. for these questions. The Dutchess Mall site has remained abandoned for decades. Community members want to know if there are real development plans or if the space will continue to sit vacant indefinitely.
I agree. It's been a mess for decades. And I believe we're out of the planning board. And this is another one of those type of things where they haven't submitted their performance bond. They're required a performance bond. We're subdividing a lot. There are going to be 2 lots on the front of Route 9. That'll be similar for something like a bank or a fast food restaurant there. So I just think I did speak with a prospective attorney that represented the site about 2 or 3 months ago. And I think there's negotiations going on to get the site developed, which what appears to be a warehouse to a tune of about 375,000 square feet. I know the concerns of the building. The town code says that as long as the building is secure, there's nothing we can do. Every big windstorm, I drive down to see if a wall gets knocked down, because that'll give me the opportunity to force the developer to clean up the site. But that's where we're standing with the Dutchess Mall. So we've got the Dutchess Community College, we got the Home Depot, and then the final spot is the southern part right there. And once that's taken care of, it's going to look pretty good down there. And it's going to bring some significant revenue if we get that warehouse in there. And there is an interest on the site. I've had truck stops, other business owners contact me about it, saying, am I interested in this and this and this? And I'm like, I don't own the site. You have to talk to the other guy. So I know there is an interest in putting something there. But the property owner owns it. He's making sure that the building is secure. And when it's not secure, and when there's trash thrown out, we contact them to clean it up. But short of a wall collapsing, it's going to stay the way it is until we get it developed. Because what the developer wants to do is collapse the building and build on top of it. So they use that as some fill. And the water line has to go through there, so there are some minor issues, but that's where we're at right now. So they're done with the planning board. They got to do the performance bond, and I can understand why would they do the performance bond if they're going to sell the property. So it's one of those type of things. But something's happening there.
That's good, because it's definitely an eyesore to see.
Hey, listen, I tell you, I'm waiting for the big storm to knock out a wall, and then I'm going to move on it. Then I can move on it.
And the last thing on infrastructure,
Sure.
submitted by Richard B., Heather D., and a few other residents, is the proposed cement plant and the water quality concerns.
I love it. So when I came to office, the town of Fishkill did not have an aquifer protection law. One of the first things I did was I passed an aquifer overlay district. So the town of Fishkill, basically half the town to the east, the eastern part of the town going into Phillipstown, is in a big, beautiful aquifer. We have good water. So I passed a law to protect the aquifer. Prior to me passing this law, everybody should be concerned. Everybody's concerns would be more valid. But we passed a real strict aquifer protection law to protect the water source. So that water source in that area supplies water to the village of Fishkill. The village of Fishkill has their wellheads in the town of Fishkill that they sell to the residents of Fishkill in Blodgett, Beacon Hills, and Glenham.
And you can see where residents get confused with where they live, the utilities, the fire district coverage, etc.
Exactly, and that's because New York was a colony. Then over the years, they piecemealed everything together and built upon it. This is why your taxes are high, because within our borders, there's 3 municipalities. It should only be 1, okay? And you have the city of Beacon with 2 villages combined in 1913 to form the city of Beacon, and then the village of Fishkill in 1899. The rest of the town was maybe 2,000 people, so there was nobody here. The action was in the villages. So the village of Fishkill over the years active on behalf of their residents. They used to get water, I believe, where the Knickerbocker, where Willow Lake is, but that wasn't enough capacity, and their government was savvy enough to purchase land within the town of Fishkill and drill their own wells, and they hit the jackpot. We got very good water. So your aquifer that supplies the village, Glenham, Blodgett, and Beacon Hills, you have water that you can drink. I live in the Glenham Water District. I have 4 kids. We drink the water out of the tap. It's a little hard because an aquifer, there's more minerals because it's going through the ground, so it's a little harder, where a reservoir is a little lighter because it's a lake. So there's the difference. So if you're used to New York City water being fluffy or whatever you want to call it, and you come here, the water will feel a little harder, but the water is good water. We've been drinking it out of, I've moved here in 2001. We've been drinking it out of the tap for the last 24 years, me and my 4 kids and my wife, the 6 of us, no problems. I take water. Water is very important. As you can know, when I mentioned earlier about the DWSP2, working with the state, dropping those levels down, and investing in the highway department to give them the tools to do it is cheaper than having to build a reverse osmosis plant. So one of the first things I did, and I did this kind of backwards, we were preparing to do our comprehensive plan. And usually you do your comprehensive plan first, and then you do the other initiatives. I didn't do that. I took the Aquifer Overlay District Protection, and I did that first, exclusive of the comprehensive plan, because I understand the vitality of this aquifer. So the rules are much more strict than they were prior to me being here. So whatever the planning board approves or not approve or makes their conditions, I'm going to be satisfied, and I'm going to continue drinking the water out of that water district, because I know I put a plan into place to protect that aquifer. And the building of one of these type of new plants, there's a lot of requirements to make sure it's in compliance. So I have full confidence in my law that we passed to protect the aquifer, and I have full confidence for our planning board to make sure the aquifer protection law is being followed, and whatever they decide, I will be satisfied with, because 6 years ago, before I was supervisor, I would be concerned. But I prepared for something like this happening in the future, and voila, it happened. I was actually preparing more for housing development, but it is what it is.
So is there going to be any environmental impact, and have there been any assessments conducted with having the cement plant in that area?
That's going to be before the planning board, and that would be a planning board question. All I know is what I can do, and like I said, I passed a pretty good aquifer protection law that did not exist. I drink water from that aquifer, and whatever the planning board decides to do, I will continue to drink water from the tap from that aquifer. I'm confident we're going to be okay.
Okay.
I'm confident that the planning board is going to make the right decision, shall I say.
Okay. So on to our next topic is going to be safety and policing for the town. The first one was submitted by numerous residents: Ellen D., Carol B., Charlie S., Loretta C. The intersection at Route 9 and Merritt Boulevard. The intersection has been known for heavy traffic and safety concerns. There have been numerous incidents where pedestrians have been hit by vehicles on either walking, riding a scooter, or bicycling. Residents want to know, are there plans to improve traffic flow and safety? Given it is a state road, you have Merritt Boulevard, which is a private road for Walmart, but that is town property. And on the other side of that, you have where Panera Bread is village-owned road. So right there is a cross-issue, different policies. Is there any way that, following up from the plans to improve traffic flow, is there any coordinations with the state and local agencies? And are there any potential infrastructure upgrades that have been submitted through the town to the state?
There hasn't been anything from the town to the state, but the state did redo that bridge a couple of years ago near Walmart. There was an overpass going over the Fishkill Creek on Route 9, and that's what the state did recently. I don't anticipate them doing anything else. The only other major infrastructure that the state's going to come in the future, within 2 years, they're going to put a roundabout at the 8252 where the Chief Nimem statue is. They're going to put it there. And in a few years after that, the life expectancy of the overpass on 90 by the Beacon Newburgh Bridge, that overpass needs to be redone, a brand new bridge. The unique situation about where Panera Bread is, that is in the village of Fishkill. So if you pull it, let's stick with the Walmart one, that's a little easier. So when you pull into Walmart, from 9 to the light is Walmart, and Walmart is responsible for the traffic light. From the light to the end where KFC is by Sam's Club, that's the responsibility of the complex to the left. They're all in a consortium of how to maintain the road, plow it, etc. And these are decisions made by previous town boards, planning boards, that allowed that to happen. Today, I would not allow that to happen because that road is not built to town scale. So what that means is it costs less money to build that road. But since the town doesn't have to plow it, the town didn't have that interest to maintain it. So we have nothing to do with it. A project like that comes through me today, I want it to be a town road that we accept, so we have the proper drainage, the proper footings, all that other stuff. So you leave Walmart and you go across Route 9. First thing you hit is those big steel plates, the potholes, the bumps. That's in the village of Fishkill. A lot of those problems are because of the trucks, heavy trucks going to the Gap warehouse, beating the hell out of it. Myself and the mayor, with the county executive, sat here a little over a year ago and discussed what we would like to see from the county to give us. And knowing that, I kind of gave whatever the town wanted to the village, because I want to see that done, because we have town residents in Merritt Boulevard that go through there every day. So my concern was the same as the mayor's, to try to get some money to fix the road from the county, because the county is making huge money. County is making a huge money off the town of Fishkill. Walmart alone pumps in about $198 million a year in sales tax revenue. We only get about $2 million of that. The county gets a bigger piece and the state gets the rest. Okay? The town of Fishkill has excellent wealth. The town of Fishkill subsidizes other municipalities through the county because we pay for our own stuff. So we don't get as much back as that we put in. You know what I mean? So when we ask for something like this, we try to get a benefit. So last year, I asked the town board to at least allow me to go into a joint agreement with the village to at least stripe the area. That hasn't went anywhere. We allocated money to do it, and I'm hoping maybe next month when we stripe some of the town roads that the town is going to stripe that area too. I think that's a strong possibility. But that is in the village of Fishkill, and I can't take town resident money and fix a road for a village or Beacon or any other municipality. I just can't do that. And I understand the frustrations, because I probably have about 2,000 residents that live on Merritt Boulevard that drive through every day, and bam, 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 bam. It's not a good optic for the town. But I can't. There is a village government. It was created. People have elections. There's a mayor. There's 4 trustees. That's how that works.
I understand the concern because I live in the town.
Mm-hmm.
My neighborhood, the house next to me is the town, but the house behind me is the village. So my roads are nice, going through the village. I understand.
Infrastructure is very expensive.
Yes.
When I do my State of the Town this year, I'm going to do it at the highway garage. I'm going to be proud to show the residents of Fishkill how their taxpayer dollars have been spent. Since I've been supervisor, we built a new salt shed, a fueling station. We're going to pave it this year. We've purchased at least 5, 6 of the big trucks. We haven't purchased one since 2016. We've changed our method of putting salt down to protect our aquifer. And making these upgrades are going to save us money in the long run, because we're not going to have to build this reverse osmosis plant. So and your water is better to drink, better to use. So our infrastructure, we redid in 2006, 2007, the recreation building, when it was built, right off the bat had leaking problems. It leaked. Cost us over $1 million to fix that in the last couple of years. But our rec department is in mint condition. We have a premier service for the residents, for the children, for the seniors, probably the best in the Hudson Valley, in the town of Fishkill. Your police department building, mint condition, great staff. Town hall, you see it, great shape. Our highway department is going to be in great shape. We've invested in every single one of our parks. They're all beautiful. So we've taken the town, concentrating on what the developers' needs were, and we've shifted on what the needs of the residents are in our infrastructure. And when I mentioned that little loop system, that's how it's a big thing, but in the overall picture, we are running out of things to do. When I first came into office, I would receive hundreds of emails a day, phone calls a day. We've been in here for maybe a half hour. I haven't even heard my phone ring. Things are getting done. People are satisfied with what's getting done. Mm-hmm. And we're on the cusp of not having to do anything besides salary increases for employees, maintenance for equipment, and buying vehicles for police, fire, and buildings and grounds for the next 10, 15 years, with the possibility of 200 to 400 million of more taxable properties coming into the town. We are in outstanding shape.
And real quick, as you brought how you're trying to also get stuff in return from the developers, would you be able to speak about the lighting at the Little League field that we also are lucky to have received recently?
Yeah, so Little League's been trying to get Little League lights for probably 50 years. and we were doing good with our budgeting. The town of Fishkill received about $2.1 million in ARPA money when President Biden gave to municipalities a piece here and there and there. So we budgeted really good. We were taking care of our infrastructure needs first, especially that water interconnection. That was a priority. And we had a little bit extra. And it was a balance between taxpayer dollars in our reserve funds, I believe, and ARPA money. So we're getting down to it, and we said, we can come up with about $250,000, and we're able to provide the Little League lights for the residents of Fishkill's families, no cost to taxpayer. Not only that, what's important about that park is that we dedicated that park to a soldier, Mr. Hunt, who was killed in World War II. So it's Charles Hunt Way, and if you go there today, you'll see a banner, one of our hometown hero banners, is specifically placed there. Because we got the lights for free, they came with a cost. And I want the little kids, when they come see there, I want their parents to see that Fishkill residents gave their lives for this country, that they were able to play in our ball fields and have a good time. I want to teach our youth of the history of the town of Fishkill, and that's just one component. And if we talk later about history, that's one of my most proudest things that I've done, is promote our veterans and our history. And we're going to have a great 250th anniversary next year. It's very important. So it's not just the lights, it's the meaning of shining a message of this guy. When you pull in, you see him, you see the name, and who is this guy? And this guy sacrificed his life so you guys can play baseball under the lights. So it's a little component. So that's what we did with that park, Doug Phillips Park. And the year before that, we put a fence out there to make it compliable for league regulations, so they can have league sanctioned games. We've improved the other fields in that park, and I thank Carmen Estevan, the highway superintendent, and Brandon Knapp, who's head of the groundskeepers, to getting this done. Down the street, you saw the Chief Nimham statue. That was my first goal into promoting our history. Chief Nimham, big history, fought and died to defend America, him and his son, and about 20 other Indians from the Wappinger tribe. So right around there, you'll have Doug Phillips Park. In Doug Phillips Park, we did a sensory park for the little kids. We put 6 pickleball courts there, and we redid the basketball court, redid some of the fields, and a lot of fencing. And we paved that road. We used the millings, and we did a little path to the creek to allow you to put a kayak, paddleboard, or whatever you want to do, so you can participate in some water sports when you have the capacity. That park is in mint condition. Shepherd's Park, we might have to pave that. That's on its way. Then if you go down to Gearin Park, we did the same thing. We redid the tennis courts. We added 2 pickleball courts. We redid the basketball courts. We paved that, and we upgraded the baseball fields. Beautiful park. Go down to Jan Van Pelt Park over here in Glenham. While I was working with the county to redo the Washington Avenue Bridge, there was an opportunity to redo the park. So myself and the highway superintendent, we took advantage, and we were able to use a lot of benefit from the county working on the project to upgrade that park. So we were able to get a lot of stumps out of there. We were able to redo the access to the creek, so you can paddleball, use your kayaks there. And we budgeted $100,000 for a fishing deck. I think it cost less than $80,000. We did that in-house, and we paved that entire area, and that has become one of our premier parks. So all of our parks, 10 years before I became here, were now looking good. Every single park, you go there, you're going to love it. There's something to do for everybody. Whether you're a little kid or a senior citizen and everybody in between, every park has something for everybody. And that's part of our infrastructure upgrades. Now, these things have been done. So what happens in the future is you have less money to spend that you have to allocate. And this way, it's only yearly salary increases, maintenance, and vehicles. We're in a very good position.
That's good. Now, the next thing I'd like to speak about that was discussed by some concerned citizens is the police department's traffic enforcement and their lack of accreditation.
Okay.
A lot of concerns have been raised about the town's policing with their engagement in traffic enforcement. A lot of people feel that speeding is out of control, And a lot of residents also feel that the car takeovers in parking lots are very unnecessary.
What is a car? What does that mean?
So at times, I believe that's why now Home Depot turns off their parking lot lights.
Oh, you mean kids at the end of the day hanging out at night?
At
All
night.
right, let's answer the first questions
Yep.
first, and we work our way down.
All right. So the first one was, we'll go back to it,
Yeah.
was concerns they have raised again about the town's policing with the engagement in traffic enforcement.
Okay, so let's just start with that. So the town of Fishkill, you need to know how it's run. So the town of Fishkill Police Department is a 24/7 operation. That means when you call the town of Fishkill Police Department, you get a cop. Okay? But it's staffed with part-time employees that work 6-hour tours. So it's an unusual dynamic. And I'll get to that when we get to the accreditation portion. So the officers are qualified, they're certified. The bulk of the officers are either retired police officers from other agencies working here part-time to keep what they love doing. And then we have another balance of young people starting off their law enforcement career. They come here for 2 or 3 years and they go somewhere else full-time. So we've had a dynamic with the police where not a lot of people want to become police officers. So several years ago, we were short maybe 8 or 9 cops. And during that same time period, I'm pro law enforcement. So what I did was I added a third shift from the 12 to 12 afternoon to 12 o'clock shift. I added a third police officer. We budgeted that in the PBA contract. And we added myself and Councilman Rye, we decided to add a traffic cop car, specifically to do traffic. But you can't get to the traffic car until you have the shifts covered first. So we were short 8, 9, 10 guys over the years. Chief Clark has done an excellent job in the last year. We're probably short 1 officer now, if that. And we're constantly recruiting. So that has freed up the ability to have a traffic officer. And our traffic officer in the last several months have been writing lots of tickets, especially by St. Mary's Church, on Merritt Boulevard, on Route 9, on the 9D corridor. So if any citizen has any traffic concerns, they need to send me an email at supervisor@fishkill-ny.gov, and I will get it to the police department, and we will schedule traffic enforcement in any of those areas. There's complaints about stop signs being run. In addition, the town of Fishkill has purchased about 12 speed signs that we've put up throughout the town of Fishkill.
Yep, I've seen them all over.
Yes, most communities have 1 or 2. We've got 12. We've got them all over the place. We've got surveillance cameras throughout the town of Fishkill. We got about 10 of them. We've purchased a drone that we're going to be able to advertise soon to where we can use that for traffic enforcement and criminal enforcement. The town of Fishkill is in an excellent position to give the services as long as we have the manpower. And right now we're getting up to the manpower to do these things. And it's actually, like you talked about the traffic, anybody has a complaint, let me know, we'll get a cop car there to do it because we did now have the manpower. Mm-hmm. So that's good. So there have been significant improvements in the town of Fishkill Police Department, but one of the things we lead to is the accreditation. The difficulty with the accreditation is that we need a full-time accreditation officer to do the accreditation, and due to the dynamic of being a part-time police department is just difficult.
And there's not many towns in the country or New York State that have a part-time police department like us, correct?
Very, very little, if any. Usually how police departments they grow. They start part-time, maybe 20, 25 guys, and they go full-time. Then they get a new police department. Here we did it backwards. We built them a big building, part-time, but there is significant savings to doing it this way because we pay less. We pay about $3.8 million a year in our police budget. A full-time police department will cost about $8 million. So you're looking at probably an additional $300 a year in taxes if we went to a full-time police department. Last year, I discussed it multiple times at town board meetings that we might have to segue into a full-time police department. I was prepared to start hiring some full-time people if staffing issues continued. The new chief got in. He made an aggressive stance of recruiting and in a combination with waivers from the state. So when you get waivers from New York State, it allows a retired police officer is only allowed to make $35,000 a year. After that, he can't work, okay, or else he'll get his pension deducted. So we've been working with the state to get waivers for these officers, and then there's requirements to get to the waivers. So with the combination of getting up to full staff and the combination of getting waivers from the state, we've been pretty much been able to cover all of our shifts. Like this month, there might have been 2 shifts not covered, and we'll get them covered as we go by. But that's the dynamic of a part-time PD, because the officer's primary job is paramount to our job. This is the way the contract is written. And the accreditation is difficult. The previous chief worked on accreditation for probably 3 years, and there's about 110 sections that you got to complete. In 3 years, he was able to accomplish maybe 15 tasks in a 3-year period. So it's a difficult thing to do, and I do want to do it. We talk about budgeting. Do I raise taxes to do it? I just don't know yet. But yes, I'd like to, at the very least, if we can get the rules and regulations 95% of what an accredited agency has, that might be satisfactory. But I just don't know yet. It's a difficult task to do. Most full-time police departments take maybe 2.5 years to do it, and they assign somebody to dedicated to do it, and they usually hire, like I'm a retired police officer. They promoted somebody to lieutenant, and they specifically did that, and that's how they were able to do it in a quick way. And where I'm at, a lieutenant probably makes about $175,000 a year. That's about a 2% increase in taxes in the town of Fishkill. But you can see that dynamic where double the space for a part-time guy doing that work. And like I said, in a 3-year period, we only got 15 of those things done. But it is probably like one of the last things that I'd like to do as supervisor. I've accomplished probably everything I've wanted to accomplish so far. But I'll be satisfied if we can get the rules and regulations pretty much aligned up to where, the accreditation is almost exact, because you have to keep updating them, and there's a cost to it, and hire an extra cop just to do that. Is it cost effective?
It would be nice to at least see the standards go up, because I believe New York State was one of the first that had accreditations for police departments.
Yeah, so our agency went accredited in 94 or 96, I can't remember, and it's a thing. The Dutchess County Sheriff is accredited. The Dutchess County Corrections Department is accredited, and their civil unit is accredited. And when you're accredited, it helps you with your insurance rates, and it gives you, it's like being in the Army and being like a paratrooper. It gives you a little more sense of, a little more pride. But like I said, our guys are doing a great job. I have not received any civilian complaints over a year since Chief Clark has been chief. I receive lots of civilian concerns about traffic, neighbor disputes, and things like that. And that's why I changed the dynamic of the administration. So the administration had a chief and 3 lieutenants. The town board hired all of them at our discretion of the town board. These are as-of-right positions that we could change whenever we want. We're a sergeant, detective, and patrolman. They have PBA representation and rights per their contract. So a few years ago, when I first got in, I created a police commissioner position. The new majority of the board didn't like it. They eliminated the position, and they decided to give the power to the police chief to promote his own lieutenants. I think that was a bad move. The new board this year decided to reinstitute the police commissioner position, and so we have a chief that runs the day-to-day operations. The police commissioner, when I get a complaint from whoever sends me an email about traffic concerns, I give it to the commissioner, and the commissioner deals with it in the police department. And the objective is, the problem with this type of police department is the relationship with some members of the police department with the town board members. As a police officer myself, I was hired by a town. I knew the town supervisor because he hired me. And we had checks at the time, and I would see a signature. We went to direct deposit, supervisor of change. I never knew who the supervisor was because I had no interest in who the supervisor was or any town board member was. I didn't even know who they were. I knew who the judges were because I dealt with the judges. Here, there's a relationship between police officers with town board members that should not exist, because it makes it hard for the board members to discipline or hold accountable a police officer that makes a mistake. And it gets politicized, and we cannot do that. So we have the chief, day-to-day operations, and we have the commissioner working on behalf of the town board. They might not only have a complaint from me, but they might tell one of the councilmen, hey, listen, this is not being done. They tell the commissioner, and that's the workaround. This way, there's a buffer between the rank and file and the town board. Seems to be working for the last 6 months. And then we have 2 lieutenants, instead of 3, and I'm going to continue to let the chief hire his own lieutenants. There's only so many battles you want to have. But that's the structure, and that's what I like to see. Some people might not like the position. They might not like me as supervisor. They might like who's the commissioner or the chief is. But in the future, I'm not going to be here. I passed term limits. One day I'm going to be gone. One day the commissioner is going to be gone. One day there's going to be a new chief. But we need to have an establishment of procedures where a future commissioner does the same thing, regardless of politics. Takes the civilian complaints, answers civilian complaints, take care of their situation, and answers to the town board. That was something that was not existent for a several year period, and that's frustrating. It's really hurtful when you have to ask the police, you have to pass a town board resolution to get the police to do something. Do you understand? Mm-hmm. That's not good, because some people think that employees outrank the town board and the citizens of Fishkill. There's a chain of command. You, everybody else watching, the residents of the town of Fishkill are the top of the chain of command. Myself and the town board are number 2, and our employees are 3rd. Some people think the employees are ahead of everybody, and that's something that's been ingrained in people for decades, and that's why these battles are hard. That's why they come open, because people, when there's change, whether it's development or how things are done in the town, they get upset because they're used to it going their way. And if it doesn't go their way, they don't like it, and they stir the pot. But the issue is, hey, how did Ozzy get in? How did I become supervisor? I have no connections in the town of Fishkill, okay? I got in because I knocked on a lot of doors, I talked to people, I came to town board meetings. Don't get mad at me, get mad at the people that didn't listen to you. 1/3 of my vote came from Republicans, okay? Republicans tired of developers running the town of Fishkill. They didn't listen to their own constituents. Don't get mad at me. Did I take advantage to get elected and I kept my promises to everyone? Yeah. Get mad at the ones that didn't listen to the citizens. And going forward, if you don't listen to the residents of Fishkill, you're not going to be successful here. And these are the seeds that I'm planting. But like I said, I passed term limits. I want future supervisors, future town board members to continue the same path. I want future supervisors to talk to the press, to talk to the media, to be open, okay? And it's a dynamic that it's a seismic shift in all these little things where it's been one way for so long. And when they see a little change, they don't know how to handle it. And you can blame me, but blame the people that failed you to allow this to happen. You follow me? Mm. And if you listen to the residents of Fishkill, you're going to be golden. Everything I do is to benefit the residents. I have a rule. If it does not benefit the citizens of Fishkill, I don't do it. Period. And if it benefits the citizens, then I do it. And I won't push for anything else. That's my paramount thing right there.
Wonderful. You do speak, very strong for defending the people and, the citizens. So it's very good that you're backing them versus, developers and everyone just coming in trying to throw some money down. So. Well,
listen, we got like I said, if the economy is good, could have close to $400 million. And going back to the warehouse, when COVID hit, we had a buyer. The buyer put $800,000 in planning fees and site plans and all this stuff, and then the economy screwed up, and he walked away.
Yeah.
Somebody spent $800,000 to do something there and walked away because of the economy. So the economy tanks. Mm-hmm. This is why I watch national things, because it has an impact on people investing in the town.
Yes.
At a minimum, you got 200, and like I said, if things go good, up to 400 within the next 10-year period, at least coming in. Mm-hmm. And then essentially the town will probably be built out until the mines on 9 close, and then there'll be some type of development down there. Not much, but that would be the end of the build out of the town of Fishkill.
Gotcha.
Yep.